This week I got the man himself on. Whippet is joining us. He's just done a 24-hour swim as he heads towards an English Channel swim. Mate, how are you?
Mate, I'm really good, thanks. A little bit tender in the shoulders and the mouth, but apart from that, I'm feeling good.
Yeah, looking at some of the videos you did on Insta over the weekend, I'm amazed you can even talk because your tongue looked like it was bigger than your shoulders.
Mate, it's a side effect of long-distance swimming in salt water is a swollen tongue, and it doesn't make talking the easiest, not to mention lack of sleep and a few Ks in the pool. I was pretty buggered.
Yeah, well, mate, let's rip in.
Welcome to the Body Science Podcast. As always, the information contained in this podcast is for the information purposes only and is not designed to diagnose or be prescriptive to treat, prevent, or manage any injury, disease, or other health-related condition.
Welcome to Body Science HQ, the world of fit, happy, healthy. And at the end of this, I'm going to throw in Whippet raising money for Ocean Heroes, heading off on a massive journey in, is it August, mate? You're going to swim the English Channel?
Yeah, August, late August.
So, mate, before we rip into a little bit about you, why do you want to swim the English Channel?
Mate, the English Channel, I guess it's for anyone who's done any ocean swimming or spent time swimming. I guess it's kind of like our Everest. I wasn't much of a swimmer growing up. I surfed a lot as a kid. I got into ocean swimming sort of in my 20s. And I find it really enjoyable, and it actually really helped me, in bigger surf, knowing I could swim comfortably kilometres in the ocean. So if I ever got in trouble, and it's something I've kept doing, and it's a bit of one of those milestone things, bucket list things that you can tick off and do, and I've had a few of them over the years, so this is probably the biggest challenge yet.
And mate, you've had a pretty cool, how old are you these days? Whip, are you allowed to talk about that? A lot of people don't like telling their age.
I'm clutching on to 38 for another couple of weeks.
Clutching on to 38, I love that. Mate, let's talk a little bit about you, because you've lived a pretty cool lifestyle from actor, pro surfer, back to being one of the gurus of Bondi with Bondi Rescue. I mean, that thing's a juggernaut in itself. You also have a very established fitness business that I guess a lot of people don't even know. I mean, the Sydney crew would, but people in fitness wouldn't understand. Your setup is something very unique in that space too. So, mate, that's quite a checkered career for someone who's 38. How do you stay in one place? Let's start there.
Sounds like a mate, it's I guess the TV stuff I did as a kid, I sort of just fell into that, to be honest.
That's Home and Away, wasn't it?
Intended to be an actor. I never had aspirations to do that, but a couple of mates of mine got into a Cotties commercial, and they got paid $50 and got free cordial for a whole day. And I was like, are you kidding? A day off school, $50 and free cordial? I'm in. And I literally joined an agency with my brother and sister at the time. And then a few weeks later, they said, there's an audition going, blah, blah. There's 300 kids going for it. It'll be good practice for you. And that was it. That got whittled down from 300 to 50 to 6 of us. And we went out to the Channel 7 studios and did an audition out there with Nicole Dixon, who was Bobby, who was going to play my mum. Yeah, and then they rang and said, you've got the job. It's a 5-week stint. And then after the 5 weeks, wrote the character back in for sort of another 10 weeks, and then it just extended on, and I ended up doing 9 years without leaving. So, yeah, and then went back and forth a few times after that. So,
were you sort of just playing yourself? Were you playing who you were as a kid?
Pretty much, just a cheeky little shit.
Yeah.
Giving the town hell. And, he was just, your average little surf bum in a town like that and having a good time. Sounds pretty much like me.
And, mate, did you have to give up a lot as a kid too? Because obviously that's filmed a fair way from where you live, and it's filmed 3 or 4 times a week. Is that right?
Yeah, I used to, studio was at Epping, which is about an hour drive from where I live. And then Palm Beach is where all the outdoor stuff's done. And that's sort of an hour 15, hour 20 minutes. So there was a lot of travel. And, as a kid, it's sort of I started so young that it just became part of my routine. And I never really noticed, to be honest. I didn't think of it much. Getting up at 4:30 in the morning to go to work just became normal. And not going to school was kind of normal, and doing schoolwork on set when you have a little break and, trying to catch up. My mum was incredible with my schooling. She was a teacher's aide at the high school that I ended up going to in Sydney. So, yeah, she sort of knew that system and how to keep me from falling too far behind. So, yeah, always had good teachers, and it was kind of weird. No other kids were really on TV at that time, so young. Kate Ritchie had obviously done it, and then another couple of kids here and there. But, yeah, there wasn't, hadn't been done a lot. So there was a lot of learning for teachers and me to try and keep up. But we got there in the end, and I wouldn't say I'm a scholar of the highest degree, but I got through school, so that was all right.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to throw any stones that way, so don't worry. From a perspective just playing in that, young kids doing things in spaces like being an actor, were you still able to play team sports like footy and stuff at that age, or did it just consume you?
It consumed a lot of my time. But one thing that they were really quite good at in the production team was still allowing me to do things to keep me sort of living a normal life. So, yeah, I did keep playing footy on the weekend, which they weren't stoked about when I'd turn up with scratches or bruises, or when I finally broke my leg on a footy field and turned up on Monday after filming all the outdoor stuff 1 week, running around and then going inside and having plaster up to my knee. That was an awkward phone call for my mum to the production manager. But, yeah, they were pretty good and they were understanding, and they knew that, that was what I loved outside of home and away and working, was to do my sport and to be able to play footy with my mates and surf and do school carnivals. So they were pretty understanding, and I really appreciate that. Now looking back, I think that made a big difference to how comfortable it made my life at school as well, that I could still contribute and still be a part of those team sports and on the weekends, rather than just having to give it all up and live in a bit of an isolated sort of childhood. I guess that would have made it.
Yeah, exactly. Could be a tough one. Something that surprised me was when I first met you we just started talking. You started talking a lot about surfing and all that, and showed me a couple of pictures of your surf. Holy shit, you can surf all right. But that was something that was really part of your life growing up, wasn't it? You really wanted that competitive surfing.
Yeah, I grew up at Bondi Beach, and competitive surfing was pretty popular, and we had some amazing talents come out of the beach. Rod Kerr, obviously, everyone knows him. He was right up there in the world tour. But then, a bit younger than him, older than me, obviously, was Luke Hitchings was next, Tom Whitaker, and they all made the world tour and surfed there. And then, even guys like my brother and Aaron Graham and all the older boys used to surf so good that I just wanted to copy them and do what they did. And so surfing for me was something I just loved doing every day. I was lucky to live close to the beach, and I could run down before school, after school, all day on the weekends. Whenever I wasn't working or doing something else, I was in the surf. And I grew up and idolised those guys above me that competed and wanted to do that. So I sort of took a bit of a path of competing on the junior series around Australia, and then a couple of comps here and there around the world. And it was an awesome time and something I look back on, and I've met so many good mates out of surfing. And like whether you make it to the top level or not, if you're enjoying the lifestyle and you're having a good time, and I got to travel and see and surf so many cool places. And as I said, the people I met, I'm still mates with now, 20, 30 years on. So it was an epic time, and surfing's something I've never stopped doing, and I don't want to stop doing until I'm too old and too sore. So and now I get to share it with my kids, and that's even more important than me doing it by myself.
You might have a couple of pro surfers in that little group too, just quietly. There's some good imagery going around on your Insta in that space.
Yeah, the boys are loving it, and they're right into it now. So it's it makes it so easy for me to. I look at a swell report now, and if it says 2 foot, I'm stoked, because I can get both the boys in the water and we can just have a hell time. And I'm just waiting for number 3 to get big enough to stand up, and we'll start walking, and then he's out there with us. Yeah,
that's awesome. And mate, was that why you went into lifeguarding? Because you just had that passion for the beach? Is that?
Yeah, I think growing up down the beach, I was a part of nippers and stuff like that. And then, I took on the surfing and travelled a lot surfing. And then when I came back from a year or so of travelling and surfing, I wasn't working, but I was spending a lot of time at the beach. And Kerbox actually said to me, mate, you spend enough time down here, you could get paid for 8 hours a day to be here, and you're here for about 10. So, and I was like, really? All right, let's do it. I actually moved to the Gold Coast to do a diploma in sports management, and it was when I finished that up that I went back and jumped on the beach and started lifeguarding, sort of thinking that would be an in-between job, looking for something else, and just sort of stuck it out for a few years, and 18 years later I'm still doing it, and in a casual, I'm just down there a little bit now, and I love it. It's one of the best jobs you could ever have, and it's every day you go there's a different challenge, there's a different thing that gets thrown at you, so it never gets old, especially as a casual doing days here and there. It just never feels like it sort of gets boring.
There's a cool tribe of people down there in that space too, isn't there?
Well, that's the other thing. You're sitting in the best office in the world with a bunch of your mates, and it's pretty easy to have a good time.
Yeah. And mate, how did the Bondi Rescue concept come to play in this space? Obviously you're one day you're lifeguarding and doing your thing, next thing you're a rock star worldwide. And how many countries is it played in now?
I think it's in 200 countries or something like that. It's
something
pretty
to be proud
ridiculous.
Of.
And it came about the year I started. Another guy, Benny Davies, he started lifeguarding that year as well. He'd worked in the TV space before with some travel shows, and the first year was crazy. There was 12 resuscitations, a bunch of spinals, all this stuff happened, and he was looking at it going, this is ridiculous. And I've lived here and watched the boys my whole life and never knew it was that hectic. And so he sort of was like, there's a TV show in this for sure. And And, he went to a film crew and a production company, and they came down, and we literally thought that it was going to be a half hour to 1 hour documentary just to showcase what lifeguards do. And they had a grant to film for 3 weeks, and in that 3 weeks they got like 4 episodes, and so they filmed a couple more weeks and got a six episode series. We honestly didn't think it would ever make TV. We were just going to be cut up on the cutting room floor, whatever they call it. And it came on TV and people loved it. For Australians, they can relate to it because they've been to the beach and they've seen it, and they've probably experienced getting rescued or seen someone get rescued. And then for overseas people, it's their escape from a cold English winter or whatever, like to watch people in bikinis and boardies at Bondi. They love it. So that's always, it's what made, I guess, Home and Away so popular as well, is that summertime vibe. And Bondi Rescue is the epitome of that. And it's filming us at the beach, and, we're all having a good time. And I think other people just got captivated by that and, enjoyed watching it.
It was back in the early days. I mean, when you look at some of the Bondi rescue footage, the beach at times is just unplayable. Like, it's so many people. And what are there, 6 of you guys or 8 of you guys on it?
Yeah, on a busy day, there'll be usually 6, maybe 8 of us over the busy period, and we can get up to 40,000 people down the beach. And so it's kind of like... Was
it like that in the early days, or did you guys draw a lot of that because it's such a popular brand name now, that Bondi Beach?
I think it's just Bondi itself.
Just Bondi itself, yep.
I mean, it's iconic and it's Australian. Obviously, the last few years with COVID, crowds have been down a lot. But before that, when, all it was on a summer's day was to go to the beach and hang out, and Bondi is probably the most popular beach in the world, if not Australia, definitely Australia, if not the world. So, it just draws a big crowd, and it draws an awesome crowd of people from everywhere. You've got people from the locals to the people from the western suburbs, from all around Australia coming, and then you've got the whole world coming down as well. It's actually a really cool place to sit and people watch. And that's what makes our job so interesting, is the different people you see, the people you watch, but the big crowds, they get pretty chaotic. And for 6 of us or 8 of us to try and maintain a bit of somewhat control over that, it's pretty tough.
And you don't, from a perspective, you often watch the show and you think, why don't they just tell this person what to do? But you got to remember, you're lifeguards, aren't you? You're not crowd control. You're not all the things that come with the beach, and that makes it really difficult for, like, you watch the show. And I mean, I used to love watching Kerbox on it because I love the way he handles people, and I still love the way he handles people today. But I guess what a lot of people don't understand is you sign up as lifeguards, but you crowd control. You are rock stars because your brand is pushed out to 200 countries around the world, and you actually don't get paid by Bondi Rescue, do you? It's not so it's not a show people come to so you.
I guess that's the difference between it and other reality TV shows, or even, obviously shows where there's actors in there, is that we're getting paid to do our job by the council, and they came down and filmed, and as I said at the start, we never thought anything of it. So, we never really had any visions of it lasting more than a year or two. So at the start, and then it's kind of just grown, and it's one of those things. It's the opportunities that come from it, though, the people you've met, the places we've been able to travel to, and some of the cool stuff we've been able to do with schools and remote communities and stuff, because of the Bondi Rescue brand, that makes it worthwhile. And I wouldn't, you wouldn't change it for the world, but I guess it does put a bit of pressure on your job, because everything you do, you're watched. Yeah. And down there, you scrutinise. People are taking photos, they're filming you. And, some people are doing it because they're frothing on the show, and other people are doing it because they want to catch you out and try and sell it, or, see one of the boys drunk in a pub or whatever, So, it's a bit of a double-edged sword, but, as I said, I would never change it, because the opportunities that it's given myself and a lot of the other boys to do some pretty cool stuff is definitely more better than the negatives.
And mate, you do a lot of the safety for surf events too, don't you? Like some of the Mark Matthews Fear, am I using the right terminology here? Cape Fear events and all that type of thing. What makes you want to jump in that water? Like, that's just, when you watch that, it's a big heaving hunk of water landing on shallow rock. Like, that's for those people out there that don't surf, that's a really simplistic way to put it. But
mate, for me, like, as a surf enthusiast and someone who's done that their whole life, like, you always want to push yourself in the surf. And I've never been a big wave surfer, but I've always liked trying to challenge myself and get out of my comfort zone when it gets big. And having surfed Ours or Cape Fear a bunch of times myself, when the opportunity came up to be on the water safety team for the Red Bull event that they were holding, I jumped at the chance, and myself and Dean Gladstone and Quinn Darragh sort of got the job as the rescue swimmers. So we'd get dropped off on the jet ski, swim in and make sure they were all right. If they weren't, we'd help them out and then get picked up by the jet ski after like a wave or two. So, mate, for me, I was just frothing to be involved. It's the best event on the calendar, and yeah, I got a front row ticket to the greatest show in my mind that surfing's really put on. And it was a crazy couple of days that big year. I think it was 2016. Yeah, and one that'll go down in the history books of
it was amazing
slab surfing. So yeah, I was just stoked to be at the front row and got to watch it all.
Yeah, and some of the true nuts of the old body science family like Richie Vass that day.
Yeah,
that
Mark,
guy has a big set. He has a massive set.
Massive for a small man. I don't know where he hides them, but he's certainly got a big set there. And he's Rich and I have grown up together and surfed together a lot. Yeah. And he's probably the most fearless bloke I've ever come across in and out of the water. And, you see that in his fighting style and on land, and then in the water what he does is ridiculous. So, it was awesome to be there with watching your mates, which was also made it kind of more scary because you're looking at some of your best, mates you've had for a long time really put themselves in, near-death situations. Yeah. And then pop up and want to go and do it again. And, so it was kind of gnarly, but also really awesome at the same time.
I didn't think he was coming up from that one that he took off on where he took a dive.
Yeah.
That was...
I remember going in and I was like, Rich, you all right? And he goes, Ryan, I'm fine, with a big smile on his face. And I was like, mate, please don't do that again, eh? Give me a heart attack over here.
He is mad. Do you have to be a special group or specially trained to do that type of thing? Because you're out on pretty much water that I believe most Australians think you shouldn't swim in. There's also under the water as well as on top of the water.
Yeah, it's a really good group. The guys at Pro Guarding, Azza and the boys there who own that business, who've got the contract for the first flight for the Cape Fear event and a lot of other things, they have such a good system in place. And the training that we do, we spent days down at where the wave is at Cape Solander there, training, working out the rocks, climbing up the rocks, looking to see if we could, float things that can help us. We had a pontoon anchored to the ground, so if anyone got injured, which did happen with Jughead when he knocked himself out and cut his head, that was treated as a spinal. We were able to get him from in the dangerous wave, right near the rocks, and get him out onto a safe pontoon. Then if we had to airlift, we had practice for that. So yeah, it's a pretty awesome group of guys that have been involved in the event since it started, and we all take pride in making sure that we're up to date with our fit. We're as fit as we can be. We've done all our training so that if anything happens, you've got each other's back, and that whoever else is there is as capable as anyone in the world to be able to help you out. So I know the surfers, I guess they put their lives in our hands, I guess, but we also understand how talented they are, and they're the best big wave surfers. Some of them, they're as good as they get anywhere around the world. So when they take off, we're pretty confident that they're either going to make it, or if they don't make it, they're going to hopefully fall safely enough that it's not too bad an injury.
Wow. It's crazy. Mate, let's get back into where you're at the moment. You've started a really successful fitness business in that gym space. How did where did that come into play? What made you say, I'm going to get into fitness?
It came across a really good mate of mine, Trent Langlands, or Changa Langlands. He was starting a business and I was just kind of working on the beach, blah, blah. And I'd been boxing with him for a few years, and he asked me to help out with some boxing classes, and that turned into helping out with some circuits. I'd done my personal training certificates, and it was something that I was always interested in, was my own personal fitness and then other people's fitness. I love being around people. And that's sort of where I find I'm at my best, is when I'm working with other people and improving not only myself but helping other people get better. I really enjoy that. It sort of grew, and then before we knew it, we had a chance to expand, and I could get into the business, and we did that, and that grew and grew. And then Mark Mitchell, who's a physiotherapist, he was working out of our same building, and we were all together, and we kind of came across this space in the market which was missing, and that was people getting injured and seeing him, and then being able to come back to full training with us. And we came up with this concept of eLab that gave everybody a personalised group training experience. So everyone who comes in gets a full body assessment, breaks it down if you've had injuries with your legs, upper body, back, whatever. Every session you go to, there's notes on that person, and we know that if you come in and you can't do anything dynamic, even no matter what our group session is, we have to give you a second option to be able to cater for your body, because our whole purpose is to enhance the mental and physical health of as many people as we can. And to make sure all our members are training pain-free, which isn't the case at a lot of gyms, unfortunately, but that's pretty much our goal. So all our sessions are run by either a physio, exercise physiologist, or, like one of the trainers that's been there for a long time. And we've had really good results of getting people fitter, stronger, healthier, but also moving pain-free. And for us, that's the biggest goal, is to have everyone, running around doing things that they should be able to do with their kids or sport or whatever, but not waking up like my tongue felt after 24 hours in the pool the other day.
It's an interesting gym concept. I mean, it's got the who's who obviously going. There's a lot of people that I know that go that love it. And then I've recently gone away over Christmas and did Boomerang Beach had holidays, and the family we stayed with actually trained there as well. I had no idea that they train with you, but they just said they'd been to a lot of gyms to work, and there's a bit of a special need that needs to be looked at with one of the people that hits the gym. And they just went, ELAB was just something that they hadn't ever thought would exist in the gym world. And mate, did you have a special vision for that? Or what was I know you talked about physios connecting with you guys and all that type of thing, but what to actually say, hey, great idea, and then to go, let's turn that into a commercial venture, that's two very different things.
Yeah, I think...
Did you have a model to go off? Did you have anything?
No. Like, there was nothing in the space really when we came up with the idea. I mean, there was Pilates and there was circuit training and there was strength training, but it was just a lot of hard work and a lot of thought and process went into trying to fuse all those modalities of training into one, and being able to offer a strength session that includes Pilates, or a cardio session that includes, like core work and Pilates, and then mixing them all together. And we have days where all three are, strength, cardio and Pilates are all in the same session. So it was just an idea that sort of grew. And once we started doing sessions ourselves, we were like, this is so much better than anything we've done before. And, Mark's passion for fixing people's bodies is second to none. So that's always our driving force, is how we can make people's bodies better. And, Trent's, he trains some of the best athletes in the world. He trains a lot of the top jockeys, and he's now training Harry Garside, the boxer, who's about to do some massive things in the boxing world. And, a lot of those people go to him because he moves and he teaches people to move so well and so fluently. And, like with those two guys to learn from myself, I found it really easy to pick up and try and take your game to the next level and push that idea of training in a holistic approach, I guess, but still getting the basic needs of strength and cardio in with all the movement patterns that you need to be able to do it pain-free. And yeah, it's been a great journey, and we're always learning. And the one thing we're really focused on now is people's mental health as well as physical health, because it's such a big thing in today's society, how much people are struggling. So we all know the benefits of physical training, but that mixed in with some really good mental health stuff and some neural stabilization work and some tremor sessions to release like in nervous system and that sort of stuff. People are really seeing the benefits of it. And we've got a great community in the gym and we love it. And that's why we keep coming back every day at 5 a.m. and making sure we're trying to get better ourselves so we can help more people.
That's awesome. Mate, for people who want to check out ELAB, how do they find it?
On Instagram, ELAB Training or elabtraining.com. And that's our website. You can come in, check it out. And we'd love to fit more people in the gym. We've got 2 up and running now in Sydney, one in Bondi area and one in Maroubra. If we can continue to grow, that'd be amazing.
Yeah, that's awesome, mate. That's awesome. So we jumped on this podcast. We talked about doing this podcast because we haven't got to it yet, like the English Channel swim. And you reached out to Pico and I said, hey, guys, I want to go swim England. Can you jump on board and help me get there? And after Nathan and I went through the he's a fucking nut stuff and all the things, all that stuff and the things we normally say when we get asked stuff like that. It's a really interesting play that do you want to tell us a story on like dig deep into what you're doing each day to get yourself ready for swimming in English Channel? Because most of us, like you say, we go to the gym in the morning, go to the gym in the Arvo, we have a program we do and we do what we do, but you have to live the life and you really can't experience until you dive in that day.
It's an interesting journey, and it's one that you really find out in yourself whether you want to do something that you said you wanted to do or whether you just thought you wanted to do it.
That's a good idea on the beers.
Once you sign up and tell a few people, you can't really pull out, can you?
Yeah.
But it's a journey that was inspired by Quindara and Luke Stewart. Luke's doing it again this year. He had his first crossing attempt 2 years ago with Quinn. Quinn got across and Luke didn't get a very favourable day and got seasick and sort of had a few things go against him and didn't make it across. And I was watching that and I was so inspired by the boys. And as I said, like, it's sort of the Everest of any person who does any swimming. And so, yeah, I was like, if he thinks about going back and doing it again, I'll definitely jump in and give him a training buddy and someone to push him along, because it's a lonely sport and you definitely need a good support crew around you. And I've been lucky enough, obviously Luke, but Quinn having been there, and Murph Renford, whose dad did it, Des did it about 20 or 19 times or something like that. And yeah, I've got some really good people around me and some really strong swimmers that are helping me train. And to that old saying of surround yourself with people that are better than you at something and you'll generally improve is testament and to my swimming at the moment. I've started swimming with some really strong swimmers and they're pushing me to get faster and stronger, and that just builds your mental strength. Yeah, once I get over there to England, it's going to be a whole nother challenge. Like, it's cold, it's long, it's lonely. But if you've got a goal and you want to reach it, then all that kind of stuff just falls into the background, and you've got your sight set on one thing, and that's it, and nothing else really matters once I get to England and give it that crack to swim to France.
And there's some rules too. You can't wear a wetsuit. You can't do a whole lot of things. Do you want to talk us through that?
Yeah, you can only wear like Speedos, goggles, and one swimming cap. So obviously when it gets real cold, people double up their swimming caps to keep their head warm and put wetsuits on. But in the channel, and that's one of the things that's really endearing about to me, is that it's so traditional. Even the paperwork that you're filling out has like old crests and emblems and all this kind of, it makes you feel like it's been going for a long time, which it has. People first started trying to swim the English Channel quite a while ago, and I'd say we've got it a lot easier than they did back in the day, like most sports, with nutrition and guidance from people like yourself and nutritionists and all these things, sports scientists and all these things that can help people achieve amazing things these days. People didn't have that back 50 years ago whenever they started doing it. So yeah, it's a big journey. And as I said, like, I've always known from doing my other adventures like Ironman and Molokai and that stuff with you guys on board, I'm fueled right, my mind's right, my body will handle whatever I try and put it through. So yeah, that's why when I reached out this year, I was hoping you guys would jump on board and give me a kick up the bum to get across the channel, and that's what I hope to do in August.
That's awesome. What's a day like? Are you loading up on calories? Have you changed your in the gym training, for example? Like, what's changed for you? Yeah,
my in the gym training is probably a little bit more specific, just like a fair bit of back and shoulders work. That's kind of what I need to strengthen up, just so that my tendons and muscles are strong enough to withstand putting them through long hours in the water. But yeah, most of my days literally still start at the gym like normal, 5:30 start up at the gym, and I do a bunch of hours there training people and taking group classes, and then come mid-morning when I get a break, normally instead of going home and hitting the lounge for a little bit, I now go to the pool and punch out Ks in the pool. And yeah, as I said, with the group I've got around me, I've always got a swimming partner there, which helps. Yeah. And then I'll go back to work usually in the afternoon and do stuff with the kids, and then try and hit a squad session again that night. So swimming at least once a day, if not twice some days, and then on the weekends trying to get a big long ocean swim in. Yeah, so it's just about building a base, and then making that base turn into quality Ks, and then turn those quality Ks into long quality Ks, and then hopefully swim from England to France in August and party after.
Yeah, I love that. Mate, what about your food? I mean, are you finding it harder to, you're a pretty fit guy who stays, when you swimmers, long distance swimmers normally hold a little bit more body weight than traditional fitness style. Are you struggling with food and the whole staying true to the program?
Yeah,
you've got to walk around Bondi a little fatter than normal. That's what I'm saying. Like that's
that's fine.
How's
with
that
me.
going for you?
If someone puts me on a diet and eat as much as you can, I'm pretty happy. Yeah, it's tough because you're burning so many calories. Like, we did the 24-hour swim relay, Luke and I, the other day, and I worked it out like off my watch that I burnt 14,000 calories in a 24-hour period. So trying to put that back in your body is actually pretty hard. Without just eating pure rubbish. There's a way of putting on weight which is just eating Maccas and rubbish, and you're not giving your body anything to work with though. So trying to do it through veggies and good meals and fats and oils and whatever else that I've got in my diet. Yeah, it's eating a lot of food. The good thing is I don't have to worry if I want to have a snack. I can just pretty much eat whatever I want. That's so there's no turning down an ice cream here or there. But yeah, it's tough. I've put on about 4 kilos
Yep.
Since I started the journey, and I want to try and bulk up probably another 4 or 5 just in that last sort of 6 to 8 week block. Yeah, so it'll be a lot of eating, a lot of smoothies, a lot of shakes, a lot of food, and a lot of training. So, and the colder it gets, and the more training you do in cold water, you lose more weight because your body's working harder. So, yeah, it's not going to be an easy process, but it's one that I'm not looking forward to. You know, I'd rather be putting it on than trying to lose it.
Yeah, exactly.
So that'll come after.
You watch those fighters, it's not a good lifestyle.
Yeah,
Mate, so when you get to England and you're about to dive in, what's the water temp going to be?
Generally, on average, it's probably about 16 degrees.
Ooh, that is cold.
But for someone like yourself who gets to surf in boardies on the Gold Coast most of the year, Greg, you wouldn't be happy about that.
Don't think I've ever experienced 16 degrees, no.
Yeah, so it's cold enough that you definitely want a wetsuit, but you don't have one. So it's like our winter, I guess, in Sydney.
Yep.
Is kind of similar, 16 degrees, and it's refreshing to dive into, freezing when you're in there for 12 hours.
So you see pictures when you look up the channel swim, there's guys and girls covered in Vaseline and all types of scenarios. Are you doing the same thing?
Yeah, there's like a mixture of a bunch of different things. They call it channel grease.
Channel grease, okay.
Yeah, and it gets made like at a compound chemist, and they put it all together, and it's got like sort of Vaseline-y petroleum stuff for your armpit, like for your chafe.
Yep.
It's also got some zinc in it for sunscreen, because that's the other thing. You're in the water in the day for 10 hours, and you can't touch the boat, or you can't, you got no assistance in any way to re-cream or to put zinc on your face. So the chance of coming out pretty fried at the other end, looking pretty horrendous, is like about $1 to $1. So but it's just I think they've sort of gone away from like covering the whole body in that lard a little bit. Like it's more just your neck and shoulders and sort of that area around more your vital organs around your core that they'll work on there. And mate, whatever they want to put on me, if it helps me get across, I'll wear it.
Yeah, exactly. And mate, are there sharks, jellyfish, all the normal things in the water in that space?
The one positive is it's not known for its sharks.
Yeah, that's a really good thing.
Yeah, that's a really good thing. That's probably the biggest benefit of doing the crossing. My wife has a real thing for sharks, and if I go for a swim anywhere, we try and plan a family holiday. She starts looking at like shark attacks in that area before she looks at flights and accommodation. But yeah, so that's a positive. There's jellyfish. There's obviously a lot of pollution. It's a big major shipping lane. There's going to be a few obstacles along the way. Hopefully the stingers aren't too bad and the pollution's all right, and mate, all those things are kind of minor when you look at the whole goal and the process you've been through and the journey so far. Like if I get stung a few times, I'll take that.
I love your mindset. It's probably be like a little wake-up call too, just quietly like, oh, yep, I'm back.
Yeah, don't drift off too far.
They definitely are. When you hit by one of them in the water, they let you know. Mate, so as part of that on the weekend, you did a 24-hour swim, but the really cool thing was you're doing it for Ocean Heroes, and that's I mean, it's not the most known charity in the world, but they've got a really good vision.
Yeah, it's when I decided to do the channel and I knew I'd want to raise money for a charity, I got onto Ocean Heroes and it resonated with me so much. There was a couple of young guys from WA that kicked it off, 3 of them over there, and that started in a space. One of them was a personal trainer training kids on the spectrum, and he realised pretty quickly that they don't get a lot of opportunities to do sport or to experience things that other kids do. And he got his mates together and they organised to take some kids living with autism for a surf. And he said it was incredible, and the parents got so much out of it as well, seeing their kid some of them had never been in the ocean before because their parents didn't know how to approach that, and the joy that they got out of it. And so it sort of kicked off, and they've been going over in WA for a while, and the guys that run it are just the most passionate legends. And so for me to be able to, and Luke to be able to sort of help and raise some money to get it going over here on the East Coast, we're going to set up like a Sydney chapter of it, I guess, and that'll be Everest kind of New South Wales, and hopefully we can grow Queensland, Victoria, and there are so many kids living with autism that it's way more common than people know about. So it's a really big thing for us to be able to get that going and to be able to help out, and when we see the smiles on kids' faces once we have our first event, it's going to be incredible.
Yeah, that's unreal, mate. That's such a great mission for you too. And how'd you go on the weekend? Did you obviously you swam the 24, you raised some good money, and everyone's high-fiving?
Yeah, the weekend was better than I ever thought it would be. I didn't think about it as that much in the planning of it. There was so much to do to organise it and get it. You know, the Bondi icebergs were incredible in giving us the pool. They've never done that before. No one's ever swum 24 hours in the pool before. So we had one of the ladies on who works down there, Lindsay. She was incredible in getting things organised for us on that side, and Reedy also jumped in and pretty much took the reins of organising everything on land so that Luke and I could concentrate on swimming, and our wives were there like the whole time as well, sort of organising our feeds and kind of trying to get us to get some sleep in between. So we did a 24-hour relay, so 12 hours each, and it was brutal. Like, it was mentally very tough to get up at 3 a.m. after having only like 2 hours out, 3 hours out of the water and go again and do that time and time again. But successfully, like in terms of success, we raised, a lot of money to kickstart our campaign. And it's a really good, kickstart, as I said, to raising the $100,000 that we need to raise to get the Sydney chapter of Ocean Heroes going. And with all the equipment, the boards are, like these big boards, they're like $1,700 each for a kid to surf on. So all these things, wetsuits, life jackets, all the stuff, a car, like a van and a trailer to transport it all. So a lot's going to go into it. And the weekend was just a testament to our community around here that we could raise so much money in doing something that we kind of got to use as a training run. I'd never swum near 12 hours before. And even though we had breaks and we could get some food and stuff in, it was still a great test of the body. I swam over 42 kilometres in that time. Wow. The pool was pretty rough. There was a fair bit of swell floating over the sides of the pool. So, it was kind of good it was a good test for us mentally and physically, and the body's pulled up really good. So I'm keen to get back into some swimming later in the week, give the body a few days to recover, and then start building again for Swim the Gold Coast at the end of May. Yep. And then, over to England in August.
Nice. And Pico was telling me the busiest times for your companion swimmers was that midnight to 4 a.m. slot.
Yeah, we had a really good show of support at that time. And I think a couple of reasons. One, our mates and family knew that that'd be the hardest times for us. So they were sort of like, I'll put my hand up and go down. And then for any other local swimmers, they were like, we've never been able to swim in the Bergs at midnight. So I'm coming down to experience something different there. Yeah, it was awesome to see so many people go out of their way to make our day a success was really moving for us. And it was good. We had a great function after it and a couple of beers, which kind of stung going down on a shredded tongue. But it was really good. The auctions, like Mick Fanning donated a board, and local businesses gave vouchers for restaurants and stuff like that, and the Roosters got behind it and gave a jersey, and Victor Radley came down and gave us some boots, and James Tedesco donated signed boots. So it was a lot of people put in to make the day successful. So it was, we're really proud of what we did, and it was a good start to the journey, and we're pumped for the next sort of 5 months, and then we should be done and dusted, and hopefully 2 successful channel crossings, one for me and one for Luke.
Yeah, that's all. Do you both go in at the same time?
Yeah, we're both scheduled for the same week. Yep. We've got different boats, different support boats, but we are scheduled in the same week. So it'll just come down to each captain thinking what day is going to be most suited for our swimming. It'll be within a few days of each other, though, that's for sure. So fingers crossed we're both over there able to celebrate with a couple of beers and a big feed.
Yeah, exactly. Mate, you're an absolute legend. I can never spend enough time talking to you. You inspire and motivate me every time I talk to you, and just want to send a big love to you and your family, and keep it up, mate. Like, you're doing great things for good people, and it's really appreciated.
Mate, thank you very much for the support. It's been nearly 10 years, I think, since we first joined forces when we tried the Ironman down in Melbourne there. And a long way to, whatever crazy things we can come up with next, I'm up for it. And thank you guys for your support, and thanks for having me on. And hopefully we'll be able to chat at the end of August or September, and I'll have successfully crossed the channel and think of the next journey.
Nice. I think I found some old video the other day of a certain triathlon trip that was done with a few of you boys. I'll dig it out and send it back down to you.
Port Macquarie. I think you might have made us a special swimsuit for the loser of that event.
I did. It was a lovely pink colour, and it didn't have a lot of material.
Reedy still got that. He still wears it around his backyard.
Yeah, awesome. That's awesome. Hey, mate, love the family. Thanks for coming on board, and we're really proud of what you're doing. Keep it up.
Thanks a lot, guys. Big love to the Body Science family. It's a pleasure to be a part of it, and look forward to whatever comes next.